it's only 4 league wins in the calendar year of 2025. After last night's defeat against Dundee United, this is Aberdeen's worst start to a league campaign in 26 years since the beginning of the millennium. It simply goes from bad to worse. How are we doing? Dare I ask? Welcome to the show. Thank you for being with us this Wednesday night after another defeat and after another whimpering performance, after another shocking defensive display to concede 2 ridiculously soft goals. Andrew Budge and I have done quite a chunky discussion today where we're going to show you where last night was the beginnings of what looks like a very nervous football team who are too scared to make mistakes, who are now looking like they're playing within a shell. And we've given you some examples to try and convey that that's what we think's happening at the moment. This is a team completely devoid of any type of confidence whatsoever. Like Monday night, where I was astonished about how many of you were watching. The views are incredible, and I was absolutely blown away by how many of you came on and commented, and how many of you continue to be respectful of our current plight and opinions of other fans who come on to the channel and the show. I would ask if you could try and do the same again tonight. If you can, please don't use colourful language, and always try and be respectful of those who come on and leave opinions. And I'm going to try and get through as much as I can tonight from you, because at the end of the day, this show is all about you, and it's your platform to have your say. So we'll get through all the housekeeping. We'll have a wee chat with Andrew Budge, and then we'll get going. But I'm going to start tonight's show by showing you something which I cannot believe happens in a professional game of football. Take a look at this. Hang on, is that it? Let me double check. Hang on. Typically it's not there. 1 second. Just let me find it again. 1 second. 1 second. And typically it's disappeared for some reason. Okay. What I was going to show you, sorry about that, it's disappeared. What I was going to show you was the room that the lad Esselink had yesterday to score Dundee United's second goal. It's absolutely astonishing. It beggars belief almost that it was allowed to happen. Let me see if I can find it while you're on. So just bear with me a second, because I did have it and for some reason it's just disappeared off my system. Yeah, it's still there. Okay, let me see if I can get this to you. Now, I've looked at the second goal time and time again. And first and foremost, Sivert Hilter Nielsen just falls to the ground when challenged. Players in this day and age are clever. They're cute. And what they do is they block. And what players of opposing teams need to do is make sure that they stand up to players that are going to try and block them. And last night, unfortunately, Sivert Hilter Nielsen did nothing of the sort. He literally fell to the ground. Right. Is it there? Let me see if that's it there. There we go. Okay. Look. Just look. Just look. Honestly, can you believe it? Obviously, the corner's delivered, it's flicked on, and Esselink just has to run in completely unchallenged to put the ball into the back of the net to make it 2-0. Honestly, can you believe what you're looking at? Because I can't. I find it criminal that we've allowed that to happen. Just look at it. Can you believe it? The manager last night made 3 changes to the side. Nielsen came in for Shinnie, who did not look happy at all throughout the piece. Dante came in for Adil Ashish, and Nicholas Milanovic came in for Tope Keskinen. He played the same 4-2-3-1 formation. Kevin Nisbet, in 67 minutes of football, touched the ball 13 times. What is he supposed to do? I thought Stuart Armstrong, to his great credit, had a really, really solid game and tried to make things happen. But all over the park, we just looked a shadow of what we all know these players can play to the level that they should be doing. There's your match stats. I was surprised, first and foremost, to see that we had more possession in the game. 16 shots, of only which 2 were on target. How many times have we said that since the beginning of the season for the league campaign? Total crosses into the box, thankfully an improvement on last week, but no end product. And successful final third passes, again, up significantly on the past couple of weeks, but without any end product. This is what the manager said after the game when he spoke to Red TV.
The performance level is not there, and also the way we get the goal against us today in this moment, in the 2 minutes before halftime, and then the second half, 5 minutes something, it's just not good enough. And so we share this frustration with our supporters. We know when you sign your contract as a manager or a player, how much this club means for so many people, and right now we don't give them the enough on the pitch. So it's my job now to find a quick answer how we can give much more back to our supporters.
Yeah, how frustrating is the result tonight? Again, as you say, the manner, the goals, the lack of goals at the other end as well. How can this be changed?
I think we have 1 point now and 0 score goals. I think we have to find a way, like it can't be worse than it is right now. And sometimes in this moment, if you keep staying together, you can in some way feel like you have nothing more to lose and take away this tension. Because when you see the team playing now, it's too stiff. You see Stuart Armstrong today when he play with such a composure. He knows the pressure around the team, but still he's showing himself in the best possible way and do an amazing game today. And we need the whole team to find this feeling on the pitch, and we know the pressure is there, but when we play football we have to do it with much more composure and be brave in this moment and don't hide. That's the most important thing right now when we perform.
The manager of the thoughts of the manager after the game. Alibeg AB TV is brought to you and supported by Saltire Energy, the global market leader in specialist drilling equipment rental. Not just that, they also offer you torquing, testing, refurbishment and welding services, the very best in the industry. So, before we get Andrew Budge on, I just want to take you through some of your comments first. Let's see what the mood is. I'm doing my best to stay calm. I've decided I'm not losing it. As much as I want to, I'm not going to lose it. Okay. Okay, what's happening here? All right. So Neil Sinclair said there were equally some excellent individual performances. Peter Lee says, I had my doubts before the cup final, but was prepared to give until Christmas. Not so sure now. Neil Sinclair comes back to say Armstrong in particular was excellent. Ryan Ellington says, no words to say. Another defeat from Dundee United. What an embarrassment. Graham Clark says, evening Ali and all. Oh man, where to start? We were all over the place last night. David Gold Rally Vids says 4-3-2-1. That's not a formation. It's a countdown to a sacking. Like what you did there, David. Neil Sinclair says, Carlson did well, but geez, he doesn't know when to pass. Adam Binney says, maybe some of clear the air talks and dropped Clarkson. I found it hard to believe he was resting him. So did he not come out and say that he was resting Leighton and Graham with his mind on the Motherwell game? Which I must admit I find quite astonishing. Because what I don't understand about that is you need to win your next game. And by doing that, you have to put out the best players that are going to win the game. So to rest players thinking about the following game, to me, there's no logic in that whatsoever. I was also very baffled by his comments about we've got nothing to lose. Well, Yimmy, you've got everything to lose, mate. Your job for a start. So maybe his choice of words weren't great because English isn't his first language, and maybe it's a little bit lost in translation. Because he did go on to say that by saying we've got nothing to lose, it might free up their minds a little bit more to start playing. So I kind of understand that logic, but dearie me, you have everything to lose. Everything. And players can't go into football matches thinking, meh. Because that's kind of the impression I'm getting. If it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. We've got nothing to lose. Meh. Oi. Phil McAnish says, was at the game last night and was disappointed with the manager's body language. There was no passion or aggression coming from him. How can you expect the players to get up for it if he doesn't? The Red Army says, change the formation. Think something has gone on behind the scenes. Just look at Clarkson. Graham Gibbs says, Jimmy, please don't go 4-2-3-1 against Motherwell. If you do, I'm afraid it's all over. Guys is asking a simple question to you all. A yes or no answer. Does anybody think that Jimmy Tilleen can turn this around? Hugh Burns says, I genuinely think he's going nowhere, and the lack of the director of football will help him, as surely we'll appoint the new director of football ahead of any new manager. Scott Robertson said, within 5 minutes last night, we saw Canusta with the ball at feet, looking about. There was no pass on. Ended up hoofing it. We've no idea how to break anyone down, and it's frankly embarrassing. Barry Cole says, if Tobers is fit, why was he playing against Forfar last night? So, Nicky Devlin played against Forfar last night, suspended. Got 70 minutes, I understand. Marko Lazetic played against Forfar last night. And Barry, you're telling me that Krista Tobers played against Forfar last night. For me, I don't understand why Marko Lazetic was playing against Forfar when Kusini Yenge has not even been in the squad for the past 2 games. And Marco has come on and put himself about a bit and let people know that he's there. Nearly scored. Yet, he goes to forfeit for a bounce game and Yengi plays after not featuring for 2 weeks. Again, can somebody explain the logic of that to me? Because I'm not getting it. Margaret Alexander says, how long do we give Yimmy? I'm as frustrated as everyone, but we can't go on sacking managers. You see, there's another issue. Hugh's right about a director of football, so we have an interim director of football. We have an international break coming up after the Dundee game. And whoever comes in, let's be honest, let's be brutally honest here, is going to inherit a mess. We've got 32 professional football players in our squad. 32. That's a lot. That's a big wage bill. Yeah, we needed strength and depth to cover Europe and domestic, of course. But 32? Innes says the formation simply doesn't work, and even if it did, we need to be able to adapt, and we only seem to have plan A. Paul Hannon's here. Hi, Paul. Nielsen needs to stay off the pitch. He wanted things his way, loses the ball, players are arguing with him. He should be left off the field. Mitov, Milne, and... who's that fella? One other. Only one's trying. Scott Robertson said, I've stuck up for Jensen in the recent past, but dear Lord, I couldn't believe how bad he was last night. Sneaker Golf says, nailed it, Ali. Last night was a perfect example of a setup of tactics that you need to be brave, played by a team that looked terrified to lose. It's what happens when a team loses all confidence themselves. DIY Dougie says, Ali, the fear is coming from behind the scenes. Why is Pittodrie such a graveyard for managers and players? Alan S says, once the fans turn, it's very hard to get them back on side. Yeti needs to stop being Mr. Nice Guy, give the players a rocket as they appear to have lost confidence in the manager. Right, there's lots of comments to get through. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to get Andrew Budge on, and we're going to talk you through where we have picked out some examples of where we looked very much nervous playing last night, too worried to make mistakes, too worried to be positive. So it's quite a chunky chat. It's almost 15 minutes long. But again, I really hope you enjoy the chat. I really hope it makes some sense. And I'll see you again on the other side. Here's Andrew Budge. Hello. Honestly, I can't believe this. I can't believe this.
It's getting worse.
Isn't it? We kind of always knew it was going to get worse to get better, though, didn't we? But I'm like that. Is it ever going to get better?
Can we score a goal?
Any chance? Somebody put out a post on my socials which really made me howl with laughter. Do you remember years ago there was a video doing the rounds on social media where fans of a football club had built these huge arrows? And every time,
yeah.
Do you remember? And the fans moved across the back of the terraces trying to show the players where the goal was. Someone said to me yesterday, "This is what we should get our red shed to do in the game, the next game at home."
It's getting there.
You know, we're sitting here laughing, but let's be honest, this is not a laughing matter, is it?
No, it's turning pretty quickly, to be honest. We knew we were going to have quite a tough start to the season with Europe, and and tough opening fixtures, but this has been a quite favourable run that we should have capitalised on, to be honest. And yeah, we're making a right meal of this.
What did you think of the performance last night?
It was a weird one.
That sums it up.
Yeah, it was a weird one. It had like a very familiar feeling to some of last season, particularly the run in like January to March, where there are bits of our play that were okay, but it's just like that usual vulnerability from set plays, conceding goals at really, really bad times, and just not being able to fight back, and often not showing enough fight, to be honest. I thought there's a real lack of accountability in the players, making sort of fundamental errors that you should know not to make, regardless of like tactical instruction from the manager. The manager certainly isn't blameless, but I feel like the players really didn't put in a performance anywhere near acceptable levels yesterday. And yeah, it was an unusual game. Like I think we went 2-0 down, and then it could have got quite nasty, or really it could have been quite trouncing, to be honest. It looked like at one point. But then we kind of got back into the game and had some decent chances again when we looked quite encouraging towards the end. I can't make sense of it, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm already dreading Motherwell on Saturday, and I'm even more dreading Shakhtar Donetsk in a week. Oh, dearie me. When these are the type of games that we should be celebrating and looking forward to.
I know.
European nights under the floodlights at Budge. There's nothing better. But oh my God, I'm already dreading it. Right, fella, let's go through the analysis. Let's go through all the match stuff that we've got. So we've got a number of examples here about our lack of being able to make positive passes forward. Take us through it.
Yeah, I think this has been a real issue for us this season. We've really struggled to progress the ball upfield in any form of sustainable way. How often have you seen us sort of take an easy pass, invite pressure on ourselves, not play any form of sort of positive pass forward, and just instead hoofing it to players who are often isolated and not supported? I can't think of how many times yesterday I saw us go long to Nisbet or Polvara, who weren't really working as a duo in tandem, both quite isolated, and the ball would just be immediately recovered by Dundee United. I'm certain that wasn't Tillian's instructions to be hoofing it like that. I think there was just a succession of so many safe passes where you get to the point where you've exhausted all of your options that are either immediately next to you or behind you, and you get pushed so far back that you actually the only option you've got left is to play so direct forward quite aimlessly. And I think the players are just really short on confidence, and hence why they're kind of making these sort of safer passes. We've got quite a few examples of this. The first one, I feel bad. Quite a few of these are from Dorrington, so it's not a sort of attack on him. I just thought he had a really difficult game yesterday, kind of hence why he got taken off at half time. But it was kind of, I don't know, it kind of really reflected the performance, to be honest, and some of our woes in possession so far. But in this example, again, like Nilsson's in space, he's actually made himself available, which is positive. It should be quite a straightforward pass to play through that the press there of Dundee United, and then if that gets to Nilsson, he can take the ball on the half turn, progress the ball upfield. It's just these little things that we're not doing. Instead, we play it short to Jensen, who's right next to him, and you can just see the Dundee United players swarming on him. We get pushed further back, and then eventually it's to Jensen, ball down the line, recovered by Dundee United. It was sort of rinse and repeat so frequently throughout the first half in particular, but throughout the game. The next example, Dorrington again. Jensen's looking for like a 1-2 with Dorrington, and you can see he's really sort of driving down the right hand side of the pitch. That pass we've indicated there again should be relatively straightforward, like just to release him here and progress up the field. But we just don't do that. We kind of hold on to the ball. We don't execute the pass, and you just invite that pressure on us. We eventually go back, and we play it back to Jensen eventually, but he's kind of under pressure, and the winger Amar Fatah's had the chance to sort of recover, so he can't progress the ball upfield anymore. He's marked. So many examples like this where we're just taking the safe pass. In this next example, the third one. Again, Armstrong's in the middle of the pitch. I thought Armstrong was really positive yesterday. One good sign from the performance. But again, like we're actually showing for the ball. The Armstrong and Nilsson actually did relatively well at showing for the ball at points. It wasn't like they're always behind like the sort of cover shadow of Dundee United players. They're making self available for shorter passing options, and we, as I said, we should be able to make these sort of line breaking passes. We're not asking much, to be honest, and I'm sure this is what Tulane will be expecting from them. There's a lot of criticism over the 4-2-3-1, which I can understand in part, but if you look at this example here, you can see our double pivot that should work really well. Like Dorrington's on the ball, there's a gap that we found to play our channel to play the ball through into the feet of Armstrong, and he can then turn and either play off of Nilsson next to him or progress the ball wide to someone else. Like that sort of double pivot there should work well, but we're just not making the most of it. In this particular example, I just don't think it's a formation issue. We're creating opportunities to progress the ball upfield, but the players just aren't executing it. We're just not playing with enough risk, and we're taking the easy option, which comes down to the real lack of, I guess, confidence the players have right now, which is really concerning. And the final example, honestly, I could have picked out so many more. It should be a really simple passing triangle, the likes of which we saw Motherwell do against us at the weekends. Jensen plays it back to Dorrington. Jensen's literally pointing where the ball should go into the feet of Armstrong, who's again in space. But it should be really simple, but instead we just launch it aimlessly because we're just so nervous and cautious. The fact that sort of Armstrong's shown for it in space and found that space and Jensen's pointing to him tells me like the players know what they should be doing, but we're just not doing it. So yeah, really frustrating. I think it's something that I don't know how we're going to improve if the players aren't executing it. I think it's certainly an issue of sort of personnel. I don't know how we're going to line up in defence next at the weekend, given that Dorrington got substituted at half time. But we just really need to play with a bit more risk. Because I know it's difficult when you're under this much pressure and we're in such a bad run of form, but playing cautiously and safe passes is worse for us. So yeah, something we really need to improve on.
You know, the two goals that we conceded, the amount of space and time that the players, the Dundee United players have got to execute the goals. You're watching it and you're scratching your head thinking, how do Aberdeen players allow this to happen? Why is there no awareness? Why is there no urgency? And you've picked out a perfect example here where we're just so far detached from each other in terms of a defensive setup, which continues to be a concerning issue. You pointed out against Motherwell at the weekend the amount of room Saeed had to be able to turn on the half turn and get going. In this example, you're showing the amount of space again. Why is there an inability to close down this space?
Yeah, it's bewildering, to be honest. I can't quite get it. It just seems to be like a lack of accountability from the players, and they're just making such fundamental errors that are being punished. And the example we were pulling up, it's almost laughable, like the amount of space that's between Dorrington and Jensen. I think Jensen's doing the right thing. I think Jensen's in the right position. I just don't think Dorrington's moved over and shifted over. That chasm of space between the two of them is just so easy for Dundee United to exploit. And I think it kind of links to what we're saying about doing the easy thing. I guess Dorrington thinks he's got Dolchek behind him. He's going to try and mark him, but he's already marked by Knuster. You've just got to take some sort of responsibility and just find the space. Like sometimes marking the man isn't the thing to do. If there's more than one of you, you've kind of got to anticipate where the space is. The space is what's killing us here. The gap between the two of them. So we really need to identify this and have some sort of accountability. It's interesting that we just mentioned sort of playing line breaking passes, and that's exactly what Dundee United do here. That pass that we've indicated into the winger. Like that's that line breaking pass that we just were wanting from our players in the previous four examples, and they do execute it. It just shows you how quickly you can get up the field if you're just spotting the opportunities between the lines and executing it. I think we would have had lots of opportunities to do something similar to this if we just could play those line breaking passes, which we're not doing. Overall defensively, it was just a complete lack of accountability all over the pitch. You mentioned the goals. it's just like I think I've seen both of those goals so many times. I was saying that to some of my friends, particularly the first goal, just the long throw, bounces back and forth, and just nobody has got the awareness to pick their head up and spot the striker and just mark him and stop him from getting a shot on goal. It's just a complete lack of accountability, which I think lands with the players,
Yeah.
and even the corner as well. It's interesting. That was certainly man for man we were doing there. It was maybe a little bit of zonal with, I think, Polvara quite central, but it was predominantly man for man, and that's what can happen if you go man for man. I kind of prefer some sort of mix of zonal and man for man marking. But if you go predominantly man for man, you can get blocked, which happened to Nilsson. It was pretty powder puff stuff, to be honest. But that is what can happen. You can be exploited through blocks, and players can get a run on you. And yeah, it's laughable. You've got the centre back within 6 yards of the goal just with a free header. It's just absolutely crazy. So yeah, a real lack of accountability all over the pitch. We're not doing ourselves any favours, and we're going to need some sort of drastic improvements for the weekend.
Yeah. Okay, mate. The drastic improvement, it's so obvious that it needs to be done for Saturday, but sometimes I wonder if drastic improvements can't happen in just one game. It needs to happen over a number of games. But Yimmy's always been talking about the need for improvement. We know what we need to work on. And he said that 2 weeks ago, and then we just saw an even worse performance against Motherwell. Then he said it again after the Motherwell game. Oh, we know what we need to work on. Okay, they only had a couple of days to work on it. But yet still, the performance was nowhere near good enough. Now, as you quite rightly said, it can't all be on the manager. I think most definitely the players needed to take an awful lot more accountability last night. But come Saturday, can you see a drastic room for improvement?
I'd
As
be
in
surprised, to
drastic?
be honest. Yeah. I'd be surprised if we're able to turn that around, to be honest. Particularly as you said, given that we're getting limited time on the training pitch at the moment. Games are coming thick and fast.
Yeah.
We're not going to win any free midweeks now. We've
Yeah.
kind of exhausted the period where we had to drill the players and try and get some sort of system going. Yeah, it's difficult to see where some sort of turnaround comes from. It's a lot to ask of the players. I think this is where you need to have some sort of quick wins. Like, I mean, our set piece delivery and things like that, it was so poor in recent weeks. Like, teams are exploiting that against us and finding a way to get ahead and then put us under pressure. But we just don't seem to be able to have any sort of quality final ball in from corners, from or long throws, are just pretty aimless. Like, we just don't seem to be able to make these sort of quick wins that other teams do. So
No.
that's where I would say, if we are going to turn things around or get a goal quickly, I think one way would be to prioritise set pieces and try and exploit that in some capacity. But as I said, the final ball just hasn't been anywhere near good enough. So yeah, a lot to do ahead of Saturday.
All right, fella. Thank you so much, as always, for coming on, and enjoy the rest of your week, and we'll see you at the weekend.
Yep. See you then.
Brilliant.
Thanks, Ali.
All right, mate. Take care. Andrew, thank you as always. Let me gently remind you that Alibeg ABTV is also brought to you and supported by Craig International, who are very much at the head of global procurement. They have offices based all over the world to help you with your procurement services. They are an industry leader. They have the very best people on hand to help you with those services. From the Middle East, in Qatar, in Dubai, also out in Australia, where business is doing really well. They're at home, of course, in Aberdeen, in America, in the Middle East, in Southeast Asia, in Canada, and on the continent of Europe as well. Thank you guys for your continued support. Right, back to your comments. Glenn Cairns is here from Video Productions. How are we doing, Glenn? You okay? Glenn, who made that brilliant Northern Lights drone shot of the stadium. Is there an element where the manager is the scapegoat and players aren't taking responsibility of how bad they are playing just now? It's a very good point, because it's a collective. It's absolutely a collective. But the buck, unfortunately, as we all know, stops with the manager. But the players do have to stand up and be counted. Dimitar came out and said it's not acceptable. Mats Knuster has come out and said it's not acceptable. But guys, you can't keep coming out and saying it's not acceptable. You've got to do something about it on the park. And the first thing you've got to do is show a little bit of fight, show a little bit of bravery. Andrew and I have just shown it to everybody. Be brave. A lot braver. Because it's not in evidence at the moment. They've got to take the game by the scruff of the neck, and they're just not doing it. Now, whether that comes from a lack of rockets up backsides, I don't know. Does it come from a manager who's too passive on the sidelines? I don't know. But it's got to be something, because it's not working. Mark Leslie says, and playing another striker for a midfielder doesn't make a difference because we don't make the chances for them right now and we're even more overrun in midfield. Stephen Cowie says, it appears Jimmy seems to be playing players to keep them happy rather than playing the correct 11 and the rest have to sit and wait. Cami F. Manson says, Shakhtar is a very scary thought. Isn't it just? Paul Hurd said, someone or some people have made a right mess of things in recent years. John Reed said, there's absolutely no fluent connection between defence and attack. Correct. We're always missing it out. We're always missing it out. West Coast Dawn said, our biggest oversight was central midfield. We need a Rama instead of a Nielsen, just for starters. How can Yeti not get a tune from Australia's Player of the Year? I got to say, I'm disappointed with Nicholas last night. Just a wee bit. Expected more. Ian Thompson says, 11 shots on target in 5 games. It speaks volumes. Need Andrew in the backroom team, I think, though we all seem to see the issues rather than Yimmy. Mark Leslie says, I still blame Andrew Budge. It was right when you brought him on. Now it's all gone bad. Kaiser says, even if we somehow beat Motherwell, it's only delaying the inevitable. Get rid of him now before it's too late. Okay, so this is where I'm at with it. If we lose on Saturday, sorry, I'm tapping the desk. I think it's time to go. Because I don't see the point in keeping him on for Shakhtar and then keeping him on for Dundee, and then we only have 2 weeks to try and find a new coach. So it's a mess. It's an absolute mess. Oh dear. Oh dearie dear. Chris Clark says, I don't see where this drastic improvement is coming from anytime soon. We need a battling performance full of anger and get any sort of win. After a couple of wins, we should get going again. You would think, mate. Chris, honestly, you would think. Adam Binney says, we need a bit of luck on Saturday. Oh, Adam, we need a bit more than that, fella. A. Jenkins 1701 says, why do we never have a forward at the halfway line when the other team has a corner? The opposing team are all in and around our box and any clearance goes straight to them. It's infuriating. Andrew and I have spoken about this before, mate, where we overcompensate our players in the box and we're crowding it out in there to the point where we can't even defend it. I take your point with that. We never leave an outlet, do we? There's never an outlet. Graham Gibbs says, we have too many forward-going players who don't think defensively. We needed to buy first and foremost a younger Nielsen Shinnie type. It's time to be pragmatic. Alan S says, we're so fragile mentally. Perhaps we just need any sort of scrappy goal to turn things around. Dave Cormack is hoping for a Mark Robins moment that turned it around for Fergie when he was on the brink at Manchester United. For those of you who are unaware of that football history, that is when Sir Alex was on a very, very sticky wicket with Manchester United, and in a FA Cup tie, Mark Robins scored a very late goal against Nottingham Forest, I think it was, at the City Ground, that put United through, and eventually they went on and won the FA Cup. Dave B poses a very interesting question. Has Alfie Dorrington switched off since being left out of the Euro squad? DIY Dougie says basic mistakes come from attitude, belief, confidence, as in a lack of it. Philip Palmer's asking when the luck is going to change. Okay. Right, guys, we're just about done because we've done nearly 45 minutes. So, do you remember a couple of days ago I told you about that the channel has been shortlisted for a football content award? Well, let me give you a little bit more detail about it because, as you can imagine, I am absolutely chuffed to bits. So, Alibeg AB TV got shortlisted by the Football Content Awards 2025 for Best International Podcast. The award ceremony is at the end of November at Elland Road, and I've already booked my flight to come over and attend. So I'm going to make every effort to go. So what I need now is your help to see if we can bring the gold, the silver, or the bronze home. There will be a 50% vote by a panel of judges who all work within the media industry. And 50% is by you, the voters, the general public. So I would be absolutely thrilled if you would please consider voting for me. And the way that you do that is by following those instructions. www.footballcontentawards.com. Then just sort of scroll down the page a little bit and you'll see in big, bold, blue letters, vote now. Click on there. Then click on select category. From there, scroll down until you find best podcast. Within that wee box, there is a little box that says international. Click on that and then you'll see another sort of drop up box, how you call it, pop up, and then eventually you'll see my name and a list of 12 other candidates that have been nominated as well. Click on Alibeg AB TV, accept the conditions, and then press vote now. I'd be absolutely delighted if you would please consider voting for me. Just before we finish off tonight, may I please gently remind you that Alibeg AB TV is also brought to you by Quipco International, who service the oil and gas industry. Their manufacturing warehouse is based in Abu Dhabi, and they offer a number of services and products, as you can see listed there. If you require any of those services, if you work in the oil and gas industry, feel free to drop them a note or touch base with me and I'll put you in touch with them. Right, just let me see if there's a couple of more comments. That's terrible. Richard Wilkinson just came on and said the Samaritan's number is 116123 if anybody needs it. Deary me. Oh, mate. Graham Gibb said, Ali, never mind the Football Content Awards. I've just voted for you and Andrew Budge to replace Jimmy Tulane. Could you imagine? Could you imagine? Oh dear. Michael Richardson suggesting that he thinks Jimmy will get until the Dundee game. Do you know that? Honestly, Michael, that's kind of where I was thinking about going with my thinking about the manager. Give him until the international break. But honestly, I just feel he's a dead man walking. I really do. And I think if nothing improves on Saturday, then honestly, what's the point in prolonging it, really? There's no point in prolonging it. Listen, I'll just here's some stats. And I don't want to finish the show on a high, so I'll come back to some of your comments. Since November, we've played 32 games. We've won 5. We've drawn 8. We've lost 19. We've only scored 24 goals. We've conceded 54. And we've only had, out of that, 23 points. Oy. Hugh Burns, I read your comment. I was trying to find it. So, let me see if I can find it. Stop being a smart ass. I'll try and find it. Because I was going to read it out and I can't find it on here because I saw it earlier. Where is it? Now I can't find it. So Hugh was suggesting that possibly one of the problems at the football club is the chairman. And he was suggesting that I wouldn't read that out. Well, I have read it out, Hugh. And I have no problems reading it out because it's your opinion. And you're entitled to your opinion. And I have no problems with your opinion. That's why the platform is here. Brian Martin says, Jimmy can't lose by changing formation. It will either improve the team or appease the fans or both. A lot of you are now just saying that you voted. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. That's absolutely brilliant. Thank you. Cami is asking, do you think Jimmy has given up? Interesting. I don't think he has. He's a professional. He's got his professional pride at stake. He's got his stock at stake. Because if he gets fired, he still has a career in football, right? He doesn't want to be fired. It doesn't look good. It's not a good look. But every manager knows in this day and age that inevitably, unless you retire and move on, you're going to get the sack. So it's inevitable. But last night, and against Motherwell, he looked very down, I have to say. But it's up to him to get it sorted. And the players. Guys, thank you for voting. That's absolutely fantastic. I really, really, really appreciate it. Graham Gibb says, Brian Martin, bang on. We changed the formation for the cup final, changed the formation against Motherwell, and if it does not work, focus is then on the players. Time to be pragmatic more than noble. Kirsten says, it's not just about changing formation, the tactics need changed as well. Photography by Mike says, he looks like a broken man. Right guys, we're done. Thank you so much for coming on. Don't forget, press the old like button. I know I'm asking you to do a few things tonight. Press the old like button. Don't forget to follow the channel by subscribing. And obviously, it would be fantastic if we can come away with any sort of award at the Football Content Awards in a couple of months. So please keep voting. I'd be very, very grateful for that because honestly, I'm going to bug the hell out of you about it in the next few weeks. Right, we are back. Boy, it keeps coming thick and fast. We're back on Friday and I'm going to have a very interesting segment for you that I want you to look out for. It's all about football psychology. So look out for that on Friday night. We'll do our usual build up to the game against Motherwell on Saturday. So enjoy the next couple of days. Take good care of yourselves. Thank you so much for coming on. The viewing figures tonight are absolutely fantastic. I'm delighted so many of you are on, and I'll see you on Friday night. Stand free.